What's up, guys? This is going to be the full card breakdown for UFC Fight Night Rozenstruik versus Gane. It's coming up Saturday, 5 o'clock start time for the prelims. So I'm going to be putting out early videos again. I've only been able to do Saturday afternoon videos for a long time now. And with this being a betting focused channel, it actually hurts the channel more than it helps it. Putting out videos 3 or 4 hours before the fight is too late. Everybody has their bets in. Most of the value on a lot of the dogs is dropped. So what I'm going to do is record these on Sunday, get them out by Monday or Tuesday. That way people can take advantage of the bets, because I know there's a lot of people out there that want money or memberships. And that's the whole reason I made this channel, so you can fade the con men and you can make money here for free. I don't want a donation. I don't need a tip. I don't sweep my losses under the rug. I just do it because I like doing it. And big shout out to the guys that supported, even on those late videos, hitting the like and commenting every week to help get the videos out there last minute. I do appreciate it. There was a few weeks that I missed last year, and even though betting does make things more exciting, putting your bets out there makes it that much more exciting, and it puts the pressure on. So, I'm sure anybody that makes videos knows where I'm coming from. When I don't do a video, it does feel like something's missing. So with that said, we're going to start out these early videos with a win streak. So if you're new to the channel and you know the sport, or you're successful betting the fights, get involved. Let me know who you're betting, why you're betting them. Even if you disagree, I'm interested in the other points of view. So hopefully we get some new blood on the channel. Guys that are regulars definitely know what they're talking about, but it'll be good to get, some new people added to the group, and make this a spot where everybody can put in their 2 cents and we can make some money. Now, there's going to be a few fights every week that I won't get a chance to look at because of how early in the week it is. But if I do any extra bets, I'll do individual videos for those just to keep things up to date. So first fight of the night, we got Jacoby and Grishin. So Jacoby's looked really good. He came back in on the Contender Series the last season. And, he has some UFC experience previous to the Contender Series, so he was basically making his return. He has looked good since then. Grishin, so far in the UFC, he hasn't really looked great. I mean, he got a win over Ankalaev in his last fight, a guy that I'm not really that high on, but he got it done. Previous to that, he was a PFL fighter. He had a lot of success there. I actually bet on him a few times in the PFL. I actually think this is a pretty close fight. I'm going to lean towards Jacoby because, he does have a lot of experience as far as kickboxing goes. And I do think a lot of this fight is going to play out on the feet. But I'm not comfortable putting a bet down on this one just because it could play out really close. Grishin, he can hang, and he's definitely a threat. Even though he didn't look good in his debut, I do still think that he's a good fighter. So it is a tough fight to call. I'll take Jacoby, but this should be a really good fight. I expect it to play out on the feet for the most part. So I'll say Jacoby by decision. Then we got Ronnie Lawrence and Cachero. So I haven't looked into this one enough really to give a good call as far as betting goes. I do think that Cachero is a live dog, but Ronnie Lawrence is tough. They're both still early in their career. So what I'll do for this one, I'm going to look more into it. If Cachero is a good dog, I'll put him in a separate video. If I place a bet on that, as I look into it, I'll probably look into it, tomorrow or the following day, and then just drop a couple-minute video to update things. I'm going to take Cachero to get it done by decision. But again, it's a good matchup, and it should be a good fight. Then we got Hernandez and Moises. So I've gone back and forth a bit on this one. Hernandez, came into the UFC, picked up a huge win over Beneil Dariush, got him out of there in the first round. A lot of people thought there was some luck behind that, but definitely a huge UFC debut. Made a big name for himself, followed that up with a big win over Aubin Mercier. So, he came in as a big threat and then lost to Donald Cerrone. He was overconfident for that fight, talking a lot of shit. And that's one thing in the UFC. When guys get overconfident, they start yapping a lot. You see them doing things at the stare downs to, intimidate their opponent. A lot of times those guys eat their words, or they end up looking stupid based on the shit that they do because of the fact that, they come in overlooking their opponent, and karma's a bitch, and it happens a lot in fighting, right? There's a lot of big time examples of that. And I think that Alexander Hernandez has learned from that. I don't expect that to be an issue in this fight. It is a good opponent. Thiago Moises is a guy that, as a dog, he's always going to be tempting. He's really good on the mat. He picked up a win over Bobby Green. I think that fight was really close. It probably should have went towards Green, if I'm remembering correctly. It might have been a robbery in that fight. Previous to that, he beat Michael Johnson. And Michael Johnson was actually doing really well in that fight. So as long as Alexander Hernandez can avoid the grappling, which, he did have a problem against Donald Cerrone. So that is a big if. I don't think there's a whole lot of value. I think the line's pretty accurate. I'm not mad at anybody who hasn't been a parlay. I'm going to take Alexander Hernandez to get it done by TKO in the first or second round. This is another really interesting matchup, Randy Brown and Alex Olivera. So Randy Brown, I still remember the win he got over Warlley Alves by submission. I thought if there was going to be a submission in that fight, it was definitely going to be Alves picking it up. But he is coming off a loss to Vicente Luque by TKO. But he is a good fighter. He's got a lot of potential. I think this is going to be a tough fight. A lot of people, underestimate Alex Olivera, but he's a really skilled guy. He's getting up there in age. Even though he's only 32, he's got a lot of time in the cage. He's taken a significant amount of damage, and it just depends on what version shows up. He does tend to gas out when he's not really in good shape. Whereas in other fights, he's able to make it to the decision, and, he doesn't look too bad. But I'm going to have to go with Randy Brown here. Again, I think the line is pretty accurate. Then we got Alonzo Menifield and William Knight. So this definitely has fight of the night potential. Both of these guys have a lot of power. Alonzo Menifield's going to be hungry after that big knockout from Owen St. Preux. Knocked him out face down. A lot of people were picking him to win that fight. William Knight, he's had a good start to his UFC career. Picked up a win over Alexa Kamor. He looked pretty good doing it. Got a win over Cody Brundage on the Contender Series, a guy that a lot of people were high on. Brundage looked really good recently in the LFA. So the thing about William Knight, though, and Alonzo Menifield, both of these guys tend to gas out. So it's almost even in that aspect. I think Menifield might be slightly bigger. But I'm going to go with William Knight. I think that, he's on the way up. Not that Menifield isn't on the way up. It's just after a vicious knockout like that, I just feel more comfortable going with Knight. So I'm going to take him to win this fight. I think this one might come down to who lands first. And again, I think it's got fight of the night potential. So really looking forward to this one. I'll take William Knight by second or third round TKO. Then we got Angela Hill and Ashley Yoder. So Angela Hill is another fighter that I'm looking to bet on. I just don't know what the line looks like yet. So if it's anything over 1.6, maybe even 1.5, I'd consider a bet on her for sure. She's been looking really good as of late. She's really hungry. Lost some fights that, she didn't feel she should have lost to the judges. And I think that Ashley Yoder, it's a tough fight for her. So either a potential parlay piece or a straight bet. If she isn't really a good enough number where you feel comfortable doing it straight, I think Ronnie Barcelos is going to be a significant favorite. So pairing those two up might be something to look at. There are two other parlay options I like. So I'd probably pair up Angela Hill and Ronnie Barcelos, and then the other two that I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to go with Angela Hill to get it done by decision in that fight. Then we got Pedro Munhoz and Jimmy Rivera. So this is another really close matchup. Jimmy Rivera coming off a couple losses. He got a win in his last fight, but previous to that, he came off a couple decision losses to the two guys fighting for the title coming up, Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan. So can't really take away much from him for those losses. But, I feel like, he's not really that old again. He's, 31. But, I don't think he's in his prime, even though a lot of times fighters are coming into their prime around 31, 32 years old. But at featherweight, I think the prime is more mid to late 20s. Pedro Munhoz, same type of deal. He's even a little bit older. He's 34. So, and with him coming off of a couple losses himself, this is a tough one to call. I lean more towards Jimmy Rivera. I think, he'll probably try to use his wrestling. I don't know how successful that'll be. If he is able to get him down early, I expect him to try to continue that pattern. But if, the early shots are stuffed, I think it'll be an indication of how this fight's going to play out. So I do think this is one that'll be good for live betting. I'll go with Jimmy to get it done by decision. But again, I think, watching the live line in this fight, seeing if Pedro Munhoz is able to stuff those early takedowns, I think that's going to play a big role in this fight. So I'll take Jimmy Rivera by decision. Then we got Montana De La Rosa and Mayra Bueno Silva. So this is a good fight. Bueno Silva, when she's on, she looks really good. She picked up a win early in her last fight by armbar over Mara Barella. Not really that high on Barella though, so I don't put a lot of stock into that. But she did beat Jillian Robertson in the first round, a girl who's got really good jiu-jitsu. That was back in 2018 though. She took a loss to Mariana Moroz on her comeback, but I think she knocked the dust off in that fight, and I do like her to win the fight. And with it being at pick'em odds, I did put down a bet on her. I know a lot of people like to avoid the women's MMA, so I don't blame anybody who's passing on this fight. But it did stand out to me. A lot of times the lines that stand out do end up coming through. So I did put down a bet on her. I think they're both at 1.9 at the moment. So another bet there. I'm going to say she gets it done by decision. Safest bet, of course, would be over 1.5 in this one, even though Silva does have some early submissions. So I'm just going to do a straight bet on her. Nothing major. Still looking to get back just 1 unit off of that one. I'll say Bueno Silva by decision. Next up, we got Alex Caceres and Kevin Croom. So Croom came in, got a big win in his debut over Roosevelt Roberts. I noticed when I was looking into it that it was overturned to a no contest. So I don't know why that one was overturned. If anybody can let me know. I'm kind of interested to know why that one was changed to a no contest. But it was a big win for him. He's fighting a guy in Alex Caceres that's got a ton of experience, fought in the UFC for years now. Basically, his whole career has been in the UFC. Dana White's really high on him. He's looked really good in his last few fights, and I do like him to win this fight. So that's going to be another parlay option, but I'm going to take Alex Caceres to get it done by submission. I'll say in the second or third round. Then we got Nikita Krylov and Magomed Ankalaev. So this is another entertaining fight. Nikita Krylov's a really tough guy. He's had some really big wins in the UFC, coming off a win over Johnny Walker. Previous to that, he did lose to Glover Teixeira, but it was a split decision. He's beat over in St. Preux. Fabio Maldonado, that guy, for anybody who's been watching UFC for a while, he's a really tough guy with some good boxing. He also fought Jan Blazkowicz, light heavyweight champ. He did lose that fight, but has some really good experience in the cage. And this is going to be a big test for Ankalaev. I do think the line is slightly off. So, I do have more respect for Krylov than the line, but I do also like Ankalaev to win. He has some big wins in the UFC as well. He beat Ayan Kuntalab in his last fight by TKO in the first. He was going to put him out in the fight previous to that. But something happened. It was an early stop, so they did the rematch. So he has back-to-back wins over Kuntalaba, Dalche Ligambula, a guy who's got a lot of power in his hands, Klidson Abreu. Now, a lot of people not too high on Klidson, but, it's still a decent win. So I am pretty high on him. And again, I'm going to take him to win this fight. I'm going to say he gets it done by decision. Next up, we got the main event, Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Cyril Gane. So both of these guys coming off of wins over JDS in the second round. I expect it to be an exciting fight. I don't think it goes the distance, but if they both have a lot of respect for each other, it could be one of those fights where it does, go the distance because they're playing it safe. I'm going to take Cyril Gane to win. Rozenstruik has a ton of kickboxing experience, though. So I think that the game plan for Cyril Gane, should be to make it grapple heavy, try to get it to the mat, be careful on his entries that he doesn't get clipped. We saw what can happen, with Blades the other night. So I am going to take Gane. I'll say he gets it done by ground and pound late in the fight. And I think it is a good matchup. It should be a good card overall. I'll pull up the bets now. So I did already talk about it, but just real quick, I'll keep the early videos going. Hit the like, help this video get out there. After the initial views, when I first drop it, it'll probably, die down a little bit throughout the week. So all the likes help. I don't expect it to do great the first week. Hopefully we pick up steam, get some new blood. So let me know who you guys have. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.